Health and wholeness is a quest for many. People have different thoughts on supplements, doctors, and healthcare. So, what role should nutrition play in our public healthcare system, and what role should personal responsibility play in the ways of our health? Joining me to discuss health, lifestyle, and nutrition is Cris Robinson from Lethbridge's own Purple Carrot. Cris, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so Cris, you're a nutritional consultant, right? And you've been a longtime entrepreneur in Lethbridge, and your store has just recently moved, or I guess expanded is probably a better way to say that. So maybe just give us a quick little backstory on why you moved.
We opened just over 5 years ago and we started really little and we didn't expect to grow so quickly. We have a lovely, loyal customer base here and there's so many wonderful local companies and we found we outgrew our space really, really quickly. So we were full. We had no room in our store, and so we needed to expand. So we moved down the street to the old Shots building, and now we have 3 times the space. So
Yeah, it's interesting. I know we were talking a little bit beforehand about kind of like the need for these healthcare foods or health like nutritional foods now, these stores that carry these kind of products and stuff. So does that kind of tell you a little bit about the choices that people in Southern Alberta are making?
yeah, for sure. I mean, you mentioned earlier that personal responsibility. We all need to be responsible for our own health, and our choices we make have a huge impact on our health. What foods we put in, the air we breathe, the people we spend time with, and how much time we get out in the sun. There's what we believe. So many things like that. They actually affect our body, and so we there's this. We want to provide a place where we can provide those things that people need to feel better. And when we take time to take care of ourselves, our health is better. And we want to be a part of that for other people.
Now, have you always been into health and nutrition?
Absolutely. I grew up in the coast. My parents are super healthy hippies, tie-dye, jean shorts, that sort of thing. We grew wheatgrass in our dining room growing up. My doctor 30 years ago was prescribing vitamins. I saw a chiropractor years ago before it was cool. We grew all our veggies. And for me, it was a part of how I grew up. It's a part of who I am. The smell of a health food store is home to me.
So then when you came from the coast to Southern Alberta, did you notice there was a huge gap in the market? And is that why you started your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I moved here just over 15 years ago and I found I was having to go everywhere. And then when I started my nutritional consulting business, I was sending my clients everywhere. And so my business partner, Kathy, and she was my receptionist at the time. We were like, man, what could we do? And I'm like, let's open our own store of all of our favorite things. And then that way we have a one central spot, for us to go to, but for the people who were, supporting and what have you, that they have somewhere to go to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a nutritional consultant, what changes have you noticed in the local population? Let's say, like in relation to diet.
I think people are looking to do better. We've noticed in the last few years, oh shoot, there's some stuff going around that could affect our health. And so people are thinking about that. What can I do to make myself healthier? And so we have people coming in, what can I do to support my immune system? What can I do to prevent illness? What can I do this winter? What have you? How do I support these systems in my body? And so we're seeing a lot more of that than we were um, 2 years ago. A lot more questions on immune support and how do I be healthier? How can I ward off infections? Sort of.
So, what do you tell them? How do you ward off infections?
I think the biggest thing is take care of your body. We need to eat good nutrient dense foods. The more nutrients we get in, the more we eat for a reason. We eat to get nutrients. So we need to make sure we're eating nutrient dense food. We're eating lots of vegetables. We're eating fruit. We're eating good quality foods and we're not eating too much sugar. I mean, sugar in particular, if you can cut down or cut out sugar, that's the best thing you can do for your immune system. So I always tell people get in lots of good and try not to get in too much bad.
Okay, there you go. That's great advice. I have a real problem with sugar myself. I'm a
Yeah, well,
sugarholic.
it's so addictive. It's more addictive, they say, than cocaine. Like
Oh my goodness.
it's bad, and it's so common in
hmm
young kids all the way up to our seniors.
Yeah.
It's addictive and it tastes delicious,
I'm in
but there's
trouble.
so many. Yeah, but there's so many really good healthy foods that are delicious too, and I think that's something people miss. We don't realize that you can eat healthy, and it doesn't have to be like you're eating cardboard every day. You can eat really delicious, amazing, healthy foods, and they taste good, and they're good for you.
So now, what about food sensitivities? This is a lot, like a huge topic that's come up lately over the past more recent years. I know I myself have certain food sensitivities. So, I know there's many ideas about the sources and causes, but can you maybe give us an example about how you could suggest a path to managing these food sensitivities?
Yeah, and that's actually the basis of my practice. I predominantly deal in food sensitivities and intolerances. And there's a variety of theories as to why this would happen. And in my opinion, in my experience, I think it's a perfect storm of a bunch of things. So stress will affect that. Chemical exposure, chemical is probably not the appropriate word, but toxin exposure, pesticide exposure. Our bodies have systems in place to naturally encourage elimination of toxins, but we're so bombarded by what we put in our hair, what we put on our skin, what's sprayed on our food, what's painted on our walls. I mean, we're exposed to so many toxins. We're adjusting we're growing our food. We're doing weird things to our food. When you look at the ingredients, you go to the store and you look at that list of ingredients on there. We don't know what half of them are. So we're looking at preservatives and what have you. Like there's so much imbalance when we're constantly bombarding ourselves with antibiotics and what have you. We deplete our good bacteria. And there's so much research on the microbiome now and our good bacteria. So when our microbiome is out of balance, that's a factor. So there's so many things that play in. And so if we're looking at improving or trying to ward off or trying to avoid food sensitivities, it's eat a variety of different foods. So don't eat the same thing every day. That's key. So overconsumption is another big cause of sensitivity. If you're eating the same thing every day for breakfast or every day for breakfast, lunch, and supper, what have you, your body can become overwhelmed with that. So eat a variety of foods. Again, eat nutrient dense food. Eat foods where you know where that food came from. Where does an apple come from a tree? Where doesn't it come from? We know where certain foods come from. So eat real foods. Do you know where FD&C yellow came from, or disodium guanylate, or propylene glycol, or those weird things that are in our food? We shouldn't be eating those things. So eat real foods, eat
Yeah.
less sugar, again, and affect your immune system. And de-stress is huge. But there's a lot of things. Reduce your toxin exposure. That's
Mm.
really important.
So would you say then like eating organic is maybe the way to go?
I'm a fan of eating organic for sure. I try and eat as much organic as possible. To me, it just makes sense. If there's less spray on there, there's less things that my body has to deal with. So the cleaner food that I can eat, the less work my detoxification pathways have to do, the less work my liver has to do, the less work my kidneys have to do, and that's good for me. So that's what I want. So like I said, less toxin exposure. And if one of the ways I can reduce toxins is by making sure they're not on my food, I do that for sure.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So would you say that food sensitivities are the same as allergies, or are they maybe two different things?
No, they're different. So, like a true allergy, like a peanut allergy, is different than a food sensitivity or a food intolerance. And so, depending on what practitioner you're seeing, so if you're seeing a doctor for allergies, they'll look for a particular antibody in your blood, or you can see a naturopath for a different blood work and they'll look for a different antibody, and that would be a food sensitivity or an intolerance. It's typically where we're not seeing something in the blood, but you're like, I know when I eat say gluten, I feel crummy, but maybe your doctor says there's no allergy, or your naturopath says there's no sensitivity, but there's something going on there. And usually those intolerances are usually more when you're just not breaking down that food properly. So lack of enzymes, which would be another cause of food intolerances. We're just not breaking down our food properly.
Like, I guess, like how you're living, a lifestyle, even like a healthy home, for example. How does a home relate to allergies with food sensitivities? Is there a relationship there?
Oh, it's huge. For sure. I mean, and it's sort of what came first, the chicken or the egg. So if we have food sensitivities, we're going to be more likely to be reactive to other things in our environment. If we're reactive to things in our environment, that can affect us having more food sensitivities. And so again, when we look at our air fresheners and our hairspray and our our cleaning supplies. And there's some really alarming and compelling information about our cleaners we use in our house, about I never like to name names, but the Febrezes or the Glade plugins and what have you, and the toxicity that those cause.
Yeah,
And
those typical ones that you pick up at the grocery store or wherever, right?
yeah, your body has to deal with that. Everything you breathe in, everything that touches your skin, everything that you're consuming, your body has to deal with that. Your liver has to deal with that. Your kidneys have to break that down. We have to try and get rid of that. And a lot of the times we just can't keep up. We can't keep up to the toxic load we're exposed to. We should be able to. Our body should be able to do it on its own, but we can't. And so eliminating those toxins in our house are huge. And there's some really incredible studies. And sorry, I should have had one off the top of my head, and I don't. But the correlation between allergies and toxins in the home, and how many health problems they cause.
That's interesting. So, I mean, we want to have a clean home, obviously. So, what is the alternative then if you don't want to break out that Mr. Clean or whatever? I've heard that there's like organic products out there. Is that the way to go?
Yeah, there's lots of cleaner products out there. I mean, really, in all honesty, most of those products make the job easier. They're going to melt away the scrubbing bubbles, that sort of thing. So it's elbow grease. Elbow grease is your biggest alternative. And so, vinegars and baking soda is super simple, super cheap. They work well. You just got to work a little harder for that. But there are a lot of products out there. We carry all sorts of natural cleaners and what have you that work really well, and they smell good. And they smell good from essential oils that are in there. So there's no toxic chemicals or what have you. So there's a lot of products that are out there, but you can use really simple things that you probably already have in your home that work really well, so long as you're willing to put a little muscle into it.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'm going to give that a try. Maybe talk about the relationship between food choice and our emotional well-being, because we often think physical or physiological when it comes to food, but it can affect our moods and our emotions as well, and just everything mentally, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, they talk about in natural medicine or in the natural health industry, the gut brain connection, and it sort of goes both ways. So if your guts are unhappy, you have an imbalance in your microbiome, there's too many bad guys, not enough good guys, that can affect your mental well-being, and vice versa. So if you're stressed, if your cortisol levels are high and you're running ragged and what have you, that's going to affect that. And so we'll see that, oh, I got butterflies in my tummy, or, I'm nervous. So people will sometimes have to run to the washroom if they're nervous. And so it goes both ways. And so when we have a healthy diet, and we have a healthy gut, that can affect our mental well-being. And when we work hard at having a happy mental well-being, and we're doing the things we need to do, we're having self-care, we're getting outside, maybe you're meditating or praying or doing whatever you do to calm yourself, that will have a positive impact on your digestive system, and therefore the rest of your health as well. So it goes both ways.
Do you have maybe an example of a really dramatic change in one of your clients who maybe switched their lifestyle like this, maybe switched to these organic products or switched to organic foods instead? What kind of a difference did it make in them?
Oh God, I have hundreds of stories. One of my favorites is one more recently. It was a customer came into the store, and I knew her a couple of different ways. So she wasn't actually my client, but she came in the store and she's like, I'm so inflamed. My joints hurt. My feet hurt. I'm having hot flashes all night. I feel terrible. And I was like, okay. So I suggested that she follow an anti-inflammatory diet. So basically an anti-inflammatory diet is we take out foods that cause inflammation. So I find dairy, gluten, corn, sugar are the big ones. So I suggested she pull out those foods and increase her vegetables. And so then a week later, she emailed me and she's like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. This is terrible. I just want to eat marshmallows and s'mores when I go camping.
That would have been the hardest week of my life to cut out like that. I
Yeah.
mean,
So
I
she's,
love popcorn, so like you have to eliminate corn and, of course,
Mhm.
the carbs, the gluten, the sugar.
Yeah. And so it was a lot. And so she was freaking out. I said, you can do this. Right now it's hard, but this is that emotional eating. You want to crave those foods, make you temporarily feel good. So stick through it. It's going to get easier, I promise. And then a week, maybe 2 weeks later, I see her walk in the store and she's walking towards me with this look on her face. And I was like, oh no, she's going to be so mad. And she was like, Oh my gosh. I can't believe how good I feel. She's like, my joint pain is gone. I feel so amazing. I'm not having hot flash tonight. I just like, I feel so good. I can't even believe the difference. And then that's the way she just continues to eat because she feels so good that way that she just, it's not worth it to eat the s'mores or the McDonald's or whatever it is she wanted to eat before. And that's the thing. It's hard at first, and we're emotional creatures. We emotionally eat. So when you make a dietary change to start, it's difficult. But if you can get past that and then you start seeing the benefits from it, it's so much easier to stick to it. And then it's worth it.
Yeah, what a great example that is. I love that. It's an actual real life example. And it just goes to show you don't necessarily need those prescriptions. Sometimes it's just eliminating certain things that we're just consuming a lot of. That's amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, and again, it's our food. Your food is your foundation for your health. We have to start with food if we want to be healthy. And vitamins and supplements and herbs, man, they have a place. And again, I could tell you a million stories about those where like I'm blown away at the results. But you can take the best vitamin in the world or the best this in the world or what have you. If you don't have that foundation in place of eating well and drinking lots of water, nothing's going to improve. So we want to start with that foundation of a good diet.
Yeah, fantastic advice. Cris, thank you so much. It looks like we are out of time, but we appreciate you coming on today and educating us like this.
My pleasure. It's my favorite thing to talk about.
That's great. Cris Robinson is the owner of Lethbridge's own Purple Carrot and a nutritional consultant. We're so glad to have her on today. I'm Jeanette Roche on behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News. Thanks for watching.